Welcome to the Passion Muse Show. I'm Mia Saenz Whitmore, your host, and with me, next to me on the screen, is Victoria Wynn from the Lies Project, The Lies I Tell Myself. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you, Mia. It's good to be back.
It's wonderful to have you back. I love that you came to me with this brilliant idea of empowering children to save their lives. So we would like to honor children and honor parents to empower them both with wisdom of the child never lies. Would you like to share your simplistic but empowering and deep? It's crazy because when you think about it, it's like, wow, okay, that makes sense. But why haven't I done that? And some of us do try to live this way, but on the other hand, it's a constant thing until we imbued our children with these powerful, well, not actually our children, ourselves, with these powerful gifts of listening to the beauty that our children never lie. They are always telling us their truth. So share with us, please.
Well, I was in a conversation with my husband just last week. He works at a place where there's tons of little kids, tons of parents, mostly moms, taking their kids out for the day. And we were talking about the things that he sees. And some of it makes him not want to be a parent. And
too late.
I was like, well, what do you see? What's common that you see? And he said lots of kids throwing a fit, like on the floor. We're talking little kids just going nuts, kicking and screaming on the floor, and parents literally like dragging them. And I thought, what have I done? What have I done that I'm not so proud of? And something came to me, which was, it is so much about our fears of what other people are going to think. I mean, that's kind of why we drag our kid, shut up, be quiet, and you're covering their mouth, rather than calmly saying, what's going on? What's wrong? What are you feeling? And then even if the kid continues screaming, why aren't we just saying, when you're done, I want to be able to help you, but not until you talk, and calm the situation like that. But I think that, oh my gosh, other people are watching, or what are people going to think of me?
Right.
And then I thought, oh my gosh, what if this is connected to kids that don't want to talk about or know how to talk about potential or being molested or raped?
Dangers.
What are we teaching our kids when we tell them, Susie, you can't wear that shirt to church. I mean, that's a play shirt. What are people going to think? Or, worse, like, what is God going to think? Well, I think that when we're violated, especially as little kids, what goes through a child's mind, what will they think? And it's those societal rules that that you and I have been talking about. And I just think it's time to explore empowering our kids to be bold, talk. When I say bold, I don't mean throwing fits. I mean saying, dang it, I don't like grandma's food,
Right.
And it being okay.
It makes my tummy hurt, or it doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't like going to your friend's house.
Right.
Oh, sweetie, you're going to have a great time. Da, da, da.
Right.
But really listening, and that way teaching them when it comes to the really serious stuff, they will know they can talk to us.
Well, don't you also think that if parents, this is just like what you and I do with clients, if we say, look, think about what it was like when you were a child, how you didn't like going to, your cousin's house and being left there by yourself while all the adults were talking, and what all those, and I'm thinking about my own personal experience here, how I used to hide at, 3 and 4 behind the couch, or how the 16-year-olds and then the one that was a couple years older than me, this was on my father's side, how they would take me out to the pool house and show me Playboy when I was really little and not know, and feel very much like I was in the wrong environment and not be able to tell Daddy, I'm uncomfortable, I'm scared, I'm hurt. And as you know, and some of our viewers know, that I had a trying childhood. And so if I had the proper tools back then, which I'm not complaining because I feel it's my gift to help, and I'm so honored that you came to me with this because it's my gift to help the world teach themselves so that we can embrace these children and make them powerfully strong. So when our child says, I don't want to be left at Uncle Bill's house while you go out with Daddy, there's a reason why. Talk and listen to him. We had a Uncle Bill who was not the best, and I won't go into it because it has nothing to do with my experience, but it does have to do with people that I know in relationship to me. So, but the point is it's exactly that. There's always a wisdom from the children.
Yeah. They're so heart driven.
Yes.
It's we, as we get older, we get in our head and our egos and our minds, but those kids, they're saying these things for a reason.
Right.
Sometimes it might be something that's really not important. They're throwing a fit for a cookie. Fine. But what about those times when there's something more going on, to rejecting the idea of going to someone's house or hugging someone? I think of pets. It's funny. I have a dog. I like to use her as a therapy dog and all this stuff. She's so in tune to people. And one time I was at like this big outdoor mall and I had her with me, and she went right up to this guy. It's like a big, huge African type. He looked like, I don't know. He was just, I just remember big and bold, and she went right up to him. And when he walked with a very, very confident kind of, swagger. And he turned to mush when she walked up to him. And I keep looking over there because she's laying right there. He turned to mush, and she's licking him. Yet there are other people that walked by, much smaller, people, and she ignored them or would just come hang out with me. And so I told him, I said, my dog just chose you. She's very particular, and she follows people's energy. It's all about energy. And he said, oh, I love dogs. And we had this whole chat about dogs. Children are, even more heart-driven, I think, especially with people. They know who does not feel right to hug, and they know what places they want to be in and what places they do not want to be in. So what are we doing as parents to shut that down?
Right, absolutely.
And it's really important, and they need to talk to us, or there's predator after them, or there's someone at school that's watching them or following them home a few days in a row. They have to know that it's okay to use their voice.
Right.
It's okay in the moment to literally run. Like, run. I've done that. In a moment, and I would feel frightened. I would run across the street, or I would, again, physically get out of the situation. I was taught that that's okay to just say it, do it. And I really want to talk to you about how to teach kids to listen to their intuition. I wish I had done that more when my kids were younger. I'm teaching them a lot about it now.
Right. It's totally honoring that. And being an intuitive myself and since birth, and having a family of intuitives, although I'm the most intuitive, I knew my children would be, or I assumed they would be, although I have boys, and boys don't tend to embrace that culturally. And also,
well, it's society, in my opinion, telling them, that's too feminine because they're feeling creatures.
Right. And so my oldest son is quite the intuitive, and always was. And I want to share with you about that, but I'm thinking of some more innocent information here. It goes back to listening. If we're parents, we've chosen to be parents. We've chosen to keep our pregnancies. We've chosen to love these children. So why not make them the most important thing? Over work, over our spouse, over everything. Because they are not just from us, but they're from above. They're from God. I mean, we are beautiful reflections. As you know, I always go back into the spiritualism. But the point is they're so incredibly beautiful that wisdom of the child never lies, because as you pointed out so much, that their heart is innocent and big and truthful and honest. So as parents, if we've chosen this honor to be blessed by having them in our life, we absolutely need to take the time for them. Have we all made mistakes where we feel like we've put them in front of a movie just to pacify them for a couple hours? Yes, of course we do. And of course they love that. But the point is they come first. I remember when Hunter was, my oldest, was 3 years old, and he was in nursery school. He wanted a pink down jacket. And I said to him, "Oh." I was surprised, but he was a little artist, and he loved pink. He wanted a pink down jacket, and I thought, well, we could go purple or we could go red. And I thought, okay, purple's still iffy. So I said to him, and I feel bad now, but I said to him, "Honey, pink is so close to red, and they don't have pink out right now. They have red out. Would you like a red one?" "No, I want pink." "Honey, they don't have pink out. They have red." "Well, how come she's wearing a pink one?" So the point is I lied to my child in order to get him to, like you had said about, that shirt isn't good enough for church. Yeah. I lied to him so that society wouldn't say that he was gay. Do I care? He's not gay. But would I care if he was now? Absolutely not. Would I embrace him just as much? Absolutely. Yeah. Because his soul is beautiful. It's who he is. And what I thought was totally brilliant, and she taught me, was his nursery school teacher said, "Mia, who cares? Let him have a pink coat. Let him enjoy who he is." Like you always say, "I'm flying my freak flag." Let him fly his freak flag, because it's incredibly who he was. And as time went on, we also have to be careful not to put fear into our children about strangers and things. This is a very fine, thin line that we walk as parents, and we always are stumbling like some drunkard. We can't walk that line. We're like, woo, 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 woo. So the point is listen to your heart, listen to your child, because when you're in that zone, we're not going to place fear, which will muddle our children's thoughts, and we will embrace their intuition, as you had pointed out. And the intuition is that divine alliance that the child has, that we have, that so many people ignore. And when they're feeling something or dreaming things, it's important. It's in their consciousness and their subconsciousness, which is, it's all important to listen to. So, Victoria, we've talked before in our prep for this show about not offending people, and that's why parents have their children kiss Auntie May and say hello to Mr. Jones when they're clearly not comfortable. Mm-hmm. So we've also spoken about intuition and supporting our children. As parents, what are some more ideas in which you feel through the Lies Project? Because this is a big lie when we don't honor our children. And that's what the Lies Project is all about, as the viewers know. It's about getting to the root of the problem and reversing it and finding the beauty in life. And when we find that experiential feeling, we change, we shift.
Yeah, I think being aware as parents. So I have 5, and how many do you have, Mia?
I have 2.
So
we have 7.
Between us, we got a lot of kids, and a lot of mistakes made, and a lot of things figured out. That we can improve upon right now. Mm-hmm. So it really hit me last week in talking to my husband that we're such a society about being nice, mm-hmm. that doesn't really mean nice. It means not offending. Right. That's, I would say, a big lie that we tell ourselves as parents is it matters what others think.
Right. I just thought of something, honey.
Yes.
As adults, as we become more aware of what we want in life, we use the term serve. Does this serve me? I just realized, does it serve my child? Does this serve my child? Because we allow our spouses and our friends to protect themselves, and of course we would say, I think that you're you're entering a zone that might not be good, if we were in conversation with a friend. But truly, how does this serve our child? Because they're our total responsibility until they legally hit 18, and of course our heart responsibility forever. They'll always be our babies. So if we think of how this serves our child, we might take it out of the context of about what society has placed upon us and our parents and our grandparents, and how it goes down, and which is how we're all created. So, or not created, but how we've all interpreted society.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how we make our decisions for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, absolutely, we're stewards over our children. So the same question has to be asked. And that's a great point, though, to literally ask that question when your child is struggling with something or sharing that they're unhappy. Even if it's throwing a fit, they're still communicating, mm-hmm. right?
Right.
It's a form. To ask if it serves them, if what you're about to say mm-hmm. truly serves who they are. Mm-hmm. I wish I had done this a lot more when my kids were younger. And, I'm grateful for the times that I picked up on it mm-hmm. from some other adults in my childhood that said things that were just, it took, therapy to get that stuff out of my head. Mm-hmm. And so I was pretty aware, but I've definitely taken it to a new level of what are we saying to our children, whether it's our body language or mm-hmm. the verbal things that we're saying and what we're doing, that is taking the power away from them. Mm-hmm. Especially from a situation where there could be some kind of abuse, whether it's emotional or sexual abuse. How do we empower our kids? This is a time that's, it's like there's a bunch of amazing, beautiful people, mm-hmm. and then the bad are just so bad, the things that are going on. Mm-hmm. In our world, yes. Yeah, in our world. So what an important topic to stop unconsciously taking the power away from our kids. Right. I think that 95% of the parents do not realize that their little comments mm-hmm. are actually making a child clam up. So when the real important topics come, mm-hmm. they don't know what to do with it or if they're safe to talk to mom right. or dad about it.
Well, because our children look to us. They're sponges. They look to the teacher. They look to us. They look to the clergy people. They look to auntie, uncle, neighbors, friends. Anyone that's in their life, they're watching. They're totally watching who they want to be like, what they want to become. I was also thinking this doesn't just go, well, as parents, it's our responsibility, but they learn from other kids. When they get out as preteens, say, they are in the area of other kids their age, and we don't know what those sweet children were raised like. There could be another child the same age or a little older hurting our child, mm-hmm. hurting our sweet children, sexually, mentally, physically. Mm-hmm. And unless we're consciously aware of how our child looks when they come home, how they seem, how they respond to us, whether they're angry or whether and it's not just, it's their hormones. It's not always just their hormones. It's generally the way that they're treated by their teacher, by another student, by somebody bullying them. I didn't realize until, and we always don't realize until later. Hindsight is so beautiful. I love to say that. But unfortunately, my son was being abused when he was in the 4th grade by a 9th grader. And on the school bus. And he literally was stabbed with a pencil 5 times in his neck. And,
oh, my God.
Yeah, and I had to file a police report. And I didn't really even know about it. My son didn't come to me until the girl sitting next to him, her mother called me on the bus. And it was mm-hmm. only because they were goofing around and playing, and this kid had been picking on my son all year. And so I knew my son would come home and kind of bully his little brother that year. And, of course, I would always be trying to be in the middle. But it wasn't until the end of the school year that I realized and found this out. Well, I found out about the stabbing that day. And of course, a police report was filed and all that. And the principal had the audacity to say, well, your son's not perfect. And I'm like, my son is 10 and this child is 14 or 15. That is socially that is just not loving, period. As a principal, as a teacher, as a parent, you see the difference between right and wrong. And that's the thing. If we follow from love, from our heart, we absolutely see the beauty. And I believe that it expands in protection on our home, our children, and when we express ourselves in love and honesty, then so are they, and they'll feel it.
Absolutely. So something just came to me that when you're talking about living in your heart, and I was thinking, are we getting too mushy, with our topic here? And I'm thinking, no, because the moment we start caring what other people think, and that's why we're covering our kids' mouth, or we, spanking them to shut up, that's the moment we step out of our heart and into ego, the ego of how do I look? Because my kid is saying, I don't want to go to grandma's house or whoever's, or because my kid's throwing a fit. Once we go into a place of how do I look, we're in trouble.
Right. And
that's why it's important to, like what you said, ask, is what I'm about to say or do actually serving my child? Get conscious.
I don't want to go into detail, but I've had major decisions around that time and afterwards for my son due to that and some other things that happened around that in that school, where I as a parent said, I don't give an F what anybody thinks. I don't care if the school system comes after me. My child will never step foot in there again. My child is staying home until we can make a better decision, until he's healthy now, until he's mentally secure. Because and there are so many parents that are reprimanded for protecting their child when really things need to move a lot faster in our society, because there's nothing more important than saving a child. My son has the most beautiful soul. The most beautiful soul. And I'm so grateful that he's alive that I can say that, because from some of the stuff that went on during that year, I'm surprised some kid didn't slit his throat on the bus. I mean, what if he had stabbed an artery in because he was stabbing his neck? What if he had stabbed an artery? My son would have bled to death before they even knew what happened. So the point is, love our children. Don't be afraid to stand up for them. Don't be afraid to listen to your heart, because as a parent, if you're listening to your heart and feeling that connection with your child and being there for them 100%, you know that something's not right. And if you don't know immediately that something's not right, and then you do know, and this is by your child's reaction. My child began to at one point just say, I'm not getting out of bed, to the point where when my husband was like, well, throw water on him, make him do this. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing that. But when I did and my son cursed at me, I had to step back and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? This child doesn't talk to me like that. Is he that fearful? So those are just a little bit of some dark issues. But the point is that because of love and because of nurturing, that child turned around. I mean, he's here today as a beautiful person who actually serves others with not wanting to be paid. I know that sounds crazy, but he does stuff for family members, for neighbors, because he says, how can I help others, And I'm like, well, shouldn't you be working at a different kind of job than just serving people? You're 20. And he's like, but Mom, it feels so nice to be able to help people. I'm going to go to Grandma's this weekend, and I'm going to help Grandpa, do whatever he needs to, because my mother's handicapped. So if he needs help taking care of Grandma, I'm going to be there. So I think that that's beautiful. I think we all need to show our kids that it's okay. Let them grow their own soul.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of sculpting our projection of what we think they should be. And
right.
It's a tough conversation. Again, you and I, we've both made mistakes in this area. You know, what are you doing wearing that? You know, this is a fancy restaurant. What are you doing?
Or why isn't that napkin in your lap? You know, our kids, when they were little, the napkin goes in their lap. My husband and I, when I was married, we were both raised very pristine in the etiquette of table manners. Maybe not other things, but the etiquette of table manners. So we knew that napkin went in our lap, and we knew which fork to use and all that stuff. We taught our kids that when they were. It's so funny when they were like old enough to think for themselves, or when they were in elementary school. They're like, "Forget the napkin in my lap all the time, Mom." And then my son started doing this as a teenager when he'd eat, and I said, "Oh my God, Carl's Jr. commercial got that from you. We need to get money for that." It was pretty hysterical, you know. But did that embarrass me when I was out? It did at first, but I don't care now if he does that. I don't care if he doesn't put the napkin in his lap. His dad still freaks out. It's like, you know, he's like, when we go out, we're not married anymore, but when we go out as a family, like we were together on Easter, and one of them had a hat on, and, you know, he's always like, take the hat off. And I'm like, okay, honey, we're in a different era now. We're not back in the 1900s, you know. It's like, let's honor this, because although that if we were at a debutante ball, no, you're not supposed to wear your hat indoors, you know. But the truth is, what did my son's hat hurt? It made him feel secure and warm. This was the younger one. It made him feel secure and warm. And if the other one, his napkin got dirty and wanted to use his hand, so what? So what? You know, more people look at us, woohoo, hi! You know? Right. Really, I mean, it's just, it sounds kind of funny, but those are embarrassing things for most parents, you know, humiliating things. But if we get out of the thought of being humiliated and back into our heart of loving our children and sharing those moments, because these moments go fast. I was extremely fortunate that, this sounds funny, but that I was able to share Thanksgiving with my kids, not only because I live by coastal, so now that my kids are young adults, I don't get to be with them, but sometimes they don't want to. They have their own stuff. But when I said, look, Mom wants to have Easter brunch across the street from her house, I really want it. And then they came, and it was beautiful. So I guess my point is that when we give to our kids, they'll give to us in return. Yeah, and they'll be happy, and that's really what we want. Right. Isn't that really the core? And for them to say, I'm so grateful that we got together for Easter, Mom. And my oldest one wouldn't take his Easter candy. And then he called me later that night, and he said, you know, Mom, I'm really sorry. I love you. It's just I don't always want candy. I should have taken it and just not eaten it if I didn't want it. And I was like, it's okay, honey. It's all right. Nobody cares. Exactly. So I think that I know, and you know, that if we empower them to be their own thinkers instead of persecuting them, then they're going to come back with total love. Yeah. And not just for us, but for themselves and for the world. Yeah, absolutely. And don't you have a son that's doing something overseas to help people right now? Yeah, he's in Poland. He comes back in October, and that was a crazy, sad thing to have him go away for so long, but the lessons that he's learning about different cultures and different, so a lot of them live in some very poor circumstances, and so what a neat opportunity for, a 19-year-old, and now he's 20, to see that. Right. So that's a huge blessing for himself and our family, and it is. That boy flies his freak flag. So real quick, he was very young, gosh, maybe 5 or 6, and he was at church, and he needed some help in the bathroom. So someone comes into the bathroom to help him out and is laughing and tells me after church, I went to help your son. So he wasn't like walking through the halls alone and stuff. And he's wearing a Spider-Man suit, and I'm like, not a problem. Yeah. He won't take it off. It's the full-on long-sleeve Spider-Man suit underneath his white shirt and his black slacks. And he would call my ex-husband by his first name, and I was Victoria, and people would say,
that seems so disrespectful. And I go, you don't understand. He's Spider-Man.
Right.
He's not our son.
Yeah.
They were like, okay. He played that role for so many years. It was so funny, but, we don't care.
Yeah.
Wear it. It made, he was happy and we were happy because at least he's wearing a white shirt and some pants.
Right. And I love the fact that he wore it underneath his regular clothes. That is so cool.
I think he liked that was his secret identity, so.
That's brilliant. It truly is. We are out of time, but we're going to have another segment following this for next week. So join Victoria and I next week for The Lies I Tell Myself, and it's regarding the wisdom of a child never lies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'll see you all next week.